Hey guys, thanks for joining. If you can hear me, please jump into the chat and tell me a little bit about who you are, GP, what area, city that you're representing, and then I could get to know you guys a little bit virtually. That would be that'd be super great. So GP, specialty, ortho, whatever, and then what city that you're representing. Spokane. What's up, Spokane? Yeah, nice to see Spokane, Washington. Thanks for joining. Stephanie, nice to meet you again. Anybody else? Steve, Chaplin, Helen's Ultra Book. I always love those automatically general names that pop in. Helen's Ultra Book. Tell me, guys, GP Ortho, what part of town you're coming from? This is going to be a little interactive, guys. I don't want to just speak at you this whole time. So let's create a little relationship here. Okay, cool. Helen, the Bay Area GP, right on. Nice. I've done so many deals in the Bay Area, so Spokane and the Bay are very comfortable with my advice today. So that's great. Anybody else? We're going to give it 5 minutes, by the way. 5 after, we'll probably get going. While you guys are waiting, I'm going to put in the chat our podcast, dental unscripted.com. If you go to that website, guys, check out the podcast if you're not listening. I have a startup podcast and an acquisition podcast, and literally all we talk about in those podcasts is how to do a startup, how to buy a practice, and all the pitfalls that go along with it. So tonight we're going to be talking a lot about like the environment and crazy stuff that's happening right now, and less about the process of an acquisition. So jump on dentalunscripted.com. I think I spelled that right. And then if you're interested in the acquisition stuff, go to the blue logo. And if you're a startup person or thinking about a startup, go to the red logo. And there is so many episodes that go through the process. I interview attorneys and CPAs and demographics and marketing and all banks, all kinds of things, all relating to how to buy a dental practice. So super cool resource for you guys. Also, while we're waiting, um, if you guys wanted to chat, just a couple questions of things that are like really pressing, you could even throw them into the Q&A if you want it anonymously. If you're not familiar with Zoom, it's down the bottom. It says Q&A. You can ask me some questions that you want to make sure that I address tonight, because this is your time. I want you guys to get the most out of tonight. So by me answering specific questions that might help you, but I do plan on covering the points that were marketed to you guys: interest rates, labor, valuation, equity, what that all looks like. But if anything outside of those topics, then go ahead and get those up into the Q&A so I can really answer some questions for you, and you guys can make the most of this. Also, if you want that continuing education CE, you do got to hang in there the whole hour and a half. Sorry, I know. Last night we had someone clock in for 9 minutes and left, and I think they're going to want their CE, and I don't think that's how it works. So sorry, try to hang in there as long as you guys can. No questions? You guys just here for the CE? You have no questions about the process? Steve Kakikis, what are you doing there, my friend? Maybe I'll allow you to talk during this webinar about leases. But Steve, good to see you, my friend. Talking all things acquisition today. One of my friends and a lease expert is sitting in the attendees, and so maybe I'll kick some things over there. What's up, Steve? Oh, I knew this was going to be the smaller of the webinar. Last night we had 25 of you. So, but that's totally cool. I'm all in on you guys tonight. It'll be the exact same program, but this is a little bit more intimate. So, let's get into some cool stuff. I'm going to present my material. But I would really like to address things that you guys have concerns about. So please chat or throw in a Q&A question. But without further ado, to stay on track, let's do it. Let's do it. So again, I can't overemphasize, guys. I am literally, if you've ever been on this side of the of doing a webinar, I'm literally just listening to my voice and staring at a video of myself and talking to myself. You have no idea how difficult that actually is. And so I can't see your faces. I don't know if you're into it. So all I've got is the chat and I've got the Q&A to interact with you. Otherwise, I'm going to keep myself totally entertained and go through this. And maybe you guys are here just for the CE, but I'd like to think that I've got a lot to offer and a lot of experience to offer you guys up. And so tonight we're going to be discussing, does buying right now in this current environment make sense? And the reason I put this presentation together, I've never, with the exception of last night, I've never presented this. And so it might feel a little bit choppy and I apologize for it, but when you're presenting like I am, most people like present the same things over and over and over, and they memorize the slides and everything. I literally put this thing together from scratch because these are common things I'm talking about with my clients every single day. And so I know this information is extremely relevant right now in this moment. And so I'm like, you know what, let's get it out there. Let's get it out there. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Is we're going to go through, does buying a practice make sense? And please, please, please ask questions and chat. So let's get into the agenda. Who is next level? So next level, I'll get into that. We're going to get into the State of Union. So a little bit about numbers and where we are at in the dental industry. Interest rates, of course, that's a hot topic. The narrative there has been that interest rates are the highest they've ever been. So you'd be crazy to do something now with interest rates, blah, 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 blah. So we're going to talk about that. Labor costs. To me, I would want you to be very interested as someone that's considering getting an ownership. I want you focused and thinking about labor, because labor makes up the majority of your expenses, not your bank loan with that includes interest, but labor. And so those that can control labor make more, period. So if you can figure out how to manage through labor and the weirdness that's going on with the hygienists and others, you'll make more money. And then the last piece is equity. So I have a personal story that I'll share with you about next level. And owning is the way to go if you want to build your personal wealth, your personal financial statement, or your net worth. Buying a practice or getting into ownership, if that's even a startup, is going to put you on another level as far as wealth goes than what you might be realizing today as an associate. So we're going to get into all that. Thank you. I see a chat there. It's just me. Can you guys tell me if it's just Nasreen? Can you guys hear me okay? Anybody else having that issue? Please let me know before I continue. Can you guys hear me? please? Somebody give me some feedback. Steve, can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Seems better now. Okay. I'm not sure what's going on, but thank you for letting me know, Nasreen. And guys, if it keeps happening, please jump in there and let me know. Cool. Thanks. All right. So that's the agenda. All right. A little bit about next level. Okay. You guys are here. Sorry. This is my opportunity to quote unquote sell you, but I happen to be extremely passionate about what I do. So don't mistake my passion for being heavy in sales. So I started Next Level in 2018. I actually started the company and started consulting before 18, but officially my partner and I merged our consulting companies and made Next Level Consultants. So Paula Quinn, who you see in my team member there, she's the clinical and operations coach. She's all things systems, operations, clinical. She's a hygienist. She's been working in dental offices for over 30 years. And so I never worked a day in my life in a dental office, but my team has been brought up in dental and they know everything there is to know about dental. Stefani's our front office coach. Deb is a dental assistant, and she's kind of like our leadership coach and all things operations coach. We've got Nicole here locally as well. So the whole idea about Next Level was that individually we all know a lot, but collectively we know everything. And I can honestly say there's probably not one thing collectively that we don't know about how a dental practice operates. And I'm talking Medicaid all the way down to spa type service, fee for service. So I feel very confident in our team's experience in all aspects of a dental office. We've served about 70 practices nationwide. I personally assist over 30 docs getting into ownership every year, whether that's startup or acquisition. That's what I've carried the last 3 years, is about 30 doctors into ownership. I'm proud of that. And yeah, I don't care if you go startup versus buyer, whatever makes sense for you, but tonight's about buying. And before I was with Next Level, I was a banker and did lots and lots of loans and understood cash flow and valuation. And that's what led me to get into consulting. Excuse me. I am fighting a little weird, like dry cough, so I apologize. Our services. So we do a lot of things because our team is so robust and so special. So we do, not generic, but we do practice management in its purest form. So this is holding you accountable, in-office team training, helping you grow the practice, helping you make the practice more efficient, more profitable. The team management, we even touch on HR. We help you with your all billing and front office training. Paula deep dives into hygiene. So practice management is one of our most successful programs, of course. And then I just mentioned I'm a startup coach, so I'll help you from start all the way through 3 months of ownership. So Mike, I want to do a startup. How do I do that? So we'll go through budget and projections and business plan, vision workshop, demographics. We'll assist guys like Steve in getting the lease negotiated and ready to go. Marketing, hiring, systems, forms, all those things. We even do credentialing. We do that in-house, so we'll get you in network. So startup program is a very popular program. We do a lot of startups. Buyer representation, that's probably why you guys are on my list at some point or somewhere. I do a lot of buyer rep. So this is a newer thing for you guys, is to have someone on your side instead of just dealing with, and that's the right word, dealing with the buyer or the seller's broker. So I don't call myself a broker because I'm not brokering anything. The seller's broker is brokering that practice. I'm representing you. So I'm on your side. I'm a fiduciary. I charge a flat fee for that service. And really, all my eyes and energy goes towards understanding who you are as a buyer, personally and professionally, looking at the prospectus, doing an independent valuation of what I think the practice is worth, helping you negotiate that, helping you with the chart audit and due diligence. And then we even can do your credentialing. Again, we do credentialing, so getting you in network and just really working through all the nuances and things that you'll need to get in place before close. So that's banking, insurance, AR management, getting merchant services, getting all your licenses, HR manuals, all that good stuff. So we do it all and help you really get a great transition plan together so that when you do get the keys, you know exactly what you're going to do, the weaknesses of the practice, the strengths of the practice, you know exactly how to run with that. We do have a hygiene only program and a front office only program. So if you just wanted to bifurcate our services and just say, hey, Mike, you know, can I get Paula in the office to work with my hygiene team to produce more? Or, hey, Mike, my front office person really has never been trained properly. Stefani, can you do a front office training? So we do like services like that, but that's the majority of what we do. And then we do credentialing one-off. So if you don't even hire us as a buyer rep or a consultant in any capacity, but you do want us to negotiate rates and get you into network, we'll do that as well. We started doing that last year and it's worked out great because turns out we're really good at it. So that's that. That's a little bit about Next Level. Sorry, that was the only opportunity I was able to sell you. And I appreciate some questions here. Okay, you're just saying that the volume's good. How long do you stay on for an acquisition, Stephanie? So we stay on as long as you want us. So the buyer representation program starts basically today. I look at 3 practices with you. I try to negotiate on 3 different practices, meaning if we get one and we like it and we make an offer and it doesn't go, fine, I'll look at another one. And then I'll look at another one and another one. So I'll do 3 and hopefully we'll get into contract on that third one. Usually that, I'd say 95% of the time, those 3 looks that I charge you for get you into contract. So I'm looking at multiple practices. We're making 3 offers. I'll take you all the way through the close, and that's called buyer representation, and that's the scope right there. So the day of close, technically buyer rep scope ends. But I'm glad you asked. So 60% of our clients have me help them to buy, but then they hire me and the rest of my team, Paula, Stefani, Nicole, Deb, to help them grow the practice, stabilize the practice, fix the practice in any way. And that's a month-to-month contract. So you can keep us on as long, however long that you want. And it's a month-to-month contract. So a lot of consultants charge you like a year or a 2-year contract. We believe in results-driven consulting. And so I appreciate the question. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, it's a very flexible program. But those are 2 separate programs. So practice management would be after you close. Buyer representation would be before you close. So hopefully that helped. And thank you for asking. And if you saw me at the INDC, you probably met Paula, Stephanie. So okay, let's move on. Enough about us. Me. Here's a little bit about me. So I founded Next Level. I have a master's degree, so I'm very proud of my MBA. I went to Ohio State and studied marketing. So my whole world was marketing. I worked for a marketing company before I was a dental lender. So I had this long career of marketing and understanding how marketing worked. I had a couple accounts called the Limited Brands, which represents Victoria's Secret, and at the time it was Abercrombie, and a brand called the Limited Brands, and all those brands, Bath and Body Works, I think. And the company, the consulting we did was just learning how they solicited and got people to respond. And so that was an amazing career right after business school, because I was educated in marketing, but then I worked for a marketing company afterwards. So I really got my hands dirty there, or feet wet. And then I got a little burnt out on that, jumped into dental lending, of all things. So from marketing to lender. And then I did that for about 8-9 years and then got into consulting. So the marketing banking is what led me to being a consultant. Never turned back. Love it. The last time I counted, it was 350 docs that I've helped get into ownership. I've actually brokered a couple practices. I don't say that I do this, but I have. As a dental consultant, I consulted people through the process. And I got to be honest with you guys, it was a great experience for me because I got to understand the other side. And I think that's really important when you're negotiating or you're someone that's helping you guys get into ownership, is really understanding the other side. And so it gave me that experience, which was great. I don't want to do it full time. I have partners and friends that I refer to if it comes apart. But if something lands in my lap, I would consider it, but I don't do it very often. I do host, like I said, the podcast. I put the link in the chat. Check that out. And I'm an AGD speaker, so which is why you guys are getting CE. All right. Woo, that was a lot. So sorry, that's really just about me and the sales pitch. If you guys are interested in learning more, just let's set up a console on the side. We did a poll before the presentation started, and this is what you guys were interested in. So based on how you responded, this is where the interest level was. So about a third of you are trying to understand the impact of their net wealth if you own or not own. So I love that. That's my biggest thing that I would like for you to take home tonight or today, is net wealth and how that works with you. Valuations and how they may have changed over the last 6 months. And again, folks, I don't know what areas you're in. Some of you have chimed in. You're California and Spokane, Washington. If you didn't tell me so that I could talk to you a little bit more specific. But put in there GP, perio, endo, and then give me the city that you're from so I could speak a little more intelligently about valuation and how that has changed. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about California and Washington because those folks actually gave me that information. How labor impacts the market. So only 12%, but ironically, I wanted that one to be something that you really were interested in tonight, because that is the area that you need to be seriously concerned about if you're getting into ownership. So I would like for you guys to shift to that, because your owners, wherever you work today, they're dealing with that. That's their biggest headache, is labor. And in a transition, how do you navigate labor and labor costs? And then the last one, of course, is interest rates. So we're going to cover that. Still not seeing where people are from. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on here, guys. I'd love to know. All right, let's move on. So the State of the Union. State of the Union. It's an interesting time of the year, or kind of interesting time of the past decade, quite frankly. I'm going to go on record and say I think we are in a hidden recession. It's not a very big one, but I do think we are in one. And so that's probably why you're on this webinar tonight, because you're thinking about getting into ownership and you're like, well, we're in recession. And I'm going to just go on the record by saying, yeah, I do think we are in a disguised recession. It's nothing like 2008 and 9. But your industry is so good, and we're going to touch on that in the next slide here, that I would almost go on record to also say that you're in a recession-proof industry, with the exception of orthos and prosthodontists who are doing really big cases for cosmetic work. I will go on the record and say that you're in a pretty recession-proof industry. So when I was banking, when I first got into banking, I wasn't in banking in 2008 and 9, but I did come into the banking scene coming off of that. Interest rates were in the 7%, 6-7%, which is about right where we're at right now. And we were coming off of the Great Recession. And I think that was that Bush Obama. I'm a little lost on who was the president, but If you guys all remember that, we were getting out of that recession, and very little defaults, very little defaults. And so the default rates are incredibly low. But I do want to say that that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean that you're not going to struggle as an owner. Some people do struggle. Some people do really, really well. And it's the ones that focus on the business are the ones that are going to do well. The ones that bury their head in the sand and think you can just buy something and bury your head in clinical and not focus on numbers and the daily reporting and managing people, which is the hardest, those folks are going to struggle. And that's the truth. So, but you won't default, which is wild, right? And so that's what I'm saying is the dental industry is considered to be one of the top industries. Anybody know? I'm going to ask you guys to communicate in the chat. Any ideas of what the best industries are out there, or almost just as recession proof as dental? Go, tell me. What do you guys think? Other industries that are also or equally good as dental, that are almost as good as recession proof. Veterinary, smart girl, absolutely. Veterinary is one of those same ones. In fact, I would argue that might be even better. Ever go to a vet emergency clinic these days? Are you kidding me right now? It is insane. So vet, great answer. About the same to me. And when we were lending to dentists at Bank of America, we were also lending to vets. And I think they actually did a little bit better than dental. Good answer. Anybody else? Top industries? Mortician. Oh, you've heard this presentation, Steve. Mortician does take the cake as far as the best. I hate you right now for taking it. But I see that you're only you're only telling me, the host. Guys, go ahead and do it to everyone so everyone can see. But yes, morticians are better because everybody dies. Yeah, right. And so morticians are the best. So vet and mortician, of course, Stephanie and Steven, you guys win. Okay, so now that we have established that dental's great and it's pretty much recession proof, I'm telling you, private practices are not failing. They may struggle, but they're not failing. Banks are lending. And look, if I'm going to tell you right now, we came out of COVID and the top lenders did stop lending. They literally retracted and stopped lending for pretty much 8 months after COVID because they didn't really know what the hell was going on. That's an indicator if you should get into ownership or not. If the banks aren't lending, maybe you shouldn't, right? I am telling you right now, with the state of affairs, banks are dying to give you money. So what I'm saying is banks aren't always lending money, but the top lenders are giving you money and giving you great deals. But we are going to address interest rate, which is a totally different thing than them wanting to give you versus their cost of funds. And we're going to talk about that. DSOs are continuing to buy. So I have helped someone sell a group practice, and we started that journey a long time ago, and the DSOs shrunk. They were heading into 2022, or they were coming out of 2022, and they were very concerned about the financial outlook because 2022 was actually a difficult year for a lot of dentists. But coming into after the first quarter of this year, they actually opened right back up again. So there was a moment of time where they were concerned. Heartland specifically, the largest DSO that I can think of or know of, they retracted at the beginning of this year, and then they opened the gates right back up. So two really good indicators, banks and DSOs, buying practices and lending money. There you go. Value of practices are holding steady. A lot of you guys were interested in understanding valuation and how valuation has been impacted with the current environment. Look, if you guys weren't buying, if the market was drying up, valuations would be plummeting. That's what would happen. It's called supply and demand. So if the demand dries up, the supply usually goes up, and then therefore value goes down. Okay. That hasn't happened. People are buying every single day, and therefore values are holding. Now, there are some pockets that it has become more of a buyer's market. You guys aren't communicating with towns you're in, but I can tell you that in California, one of you said the Bay, that market, Helen, has actually dried up a teeny tiny bit. So valuations are actually falling slightly. And I do think, Helen, that a lot of it's over Delta Dental and the economy combo, the whole Delta Dental thing. So if you got questions about that, Helen, go ahead and put that in. For you in Spokane, Stephanie, since I know where you two are at, the Pacific Northwest prices have held pretty well, because I think it's just it's where people want to be and live. So if there's still a high demand in the area that you live, the values are going to hold just fine. But okay, so let's see here. Who are the top lenders? And Seattle suburbs. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. Again, Seattle suburbs, values are holding just like anywhere really in Washington. Edmond, Washington. Oh, that's Steve. And then who are the top lenders? So I can't really answer that. You know of the big boys. It's Bank of America, Provide, Huntington, but you know what? That's a dangerous answer to just throw out to whoever asked that. Because every single deal, you guys, matches a different bank. It's true, especially in acquisition. Some banks don't care about money on hand, cash on hand. Some banks care about your production more than anything. Some banks are comfortable doing heavy asset deals and they don't really care about goodwill. Some banks care about just competition in certain areas, and if there's heavy competition, they won't even do the deal. So it just depends. If there's a high valuation, some lenders are willing to lend up to this cap. If there's a national average type value, then others are more comfortable. So look, all banks are not created equal. Forget interest rate for a hot minute. Assume they're all the same. It's about terms, and it's about structuring the right deal for you. And as an ex-banker, I'm going to tell you, Bank of America wasn't one size fits all. They definitely are giving the best rates if that's what you're asking. But who cares over a quarter or a half of a percent if someone else is giving you more money, which means you can reinvest in your business and do more marketing and get a scanner or get a pano if they don't have it. Like, there's reasons why you might go with one bank over another. So there, I did the best I could to answer that. Great questions. I will say too that it's too early to look at 2023 numbers and compare those to 2022 numbers, but I got off the phone with a national CPA the other day, and he had compiled a through August report for me. And he said collections as a whole, out of 800 dental offices, collections are up and average profit margin is up. That is different than 2022 last year. So I think 2021 was incredible because you had all that pent up energy from 2020 that carried into 2021. And then all the owners also benefited from all the government aid in 2021. You didn't get any of those benefits. As owners, they got a ton of benefits. So 2021 was just kind of like cash was raining everywhere. But there's consequences to that, isn't there? When the government just gives you free money and all things happen, all of that happened. What happened is there was consequences. And so 2022 labor shot up and then profits dropped. And so it was a really interesting thing. We lost a lot of our workers. Hygienists, dental assistants were in some markets were really hard to find and still hard to find. And so the ones that you did hire or are hiring want a really higher rate. And so labor's been interesting. But in 2023, Look, the numbers are on the way back. So we went through a little uh, reset, but we have stabilized. All right, so this is a report I get from Kane Waters and Associates, who's the biggest CPA firm that I can think of, over 1,000 data points. These are national averages. So for those that are in California and Washington, be careful of holding true to this. This is more of anybody in the country. This is what the rest of the country is throwing off. So take a picture of that. 2021 GPs made 37% income. Pediatric, 45, ortho, 46% profit, perio, 41%, oral surgeon and endo. So endos beat oral surgeons last year. Look at that. Now I'm going to flip to the next year, 2022. And if you notice, for those keen eye, it went down slightly. And that's what I was just talking about, was in 2022, there was a slight dip. So not dramatic, but definitely a slight dip. I think it was actually more dramatic on the coasts, which is California and Washington, because again, where people want to live, the rates have gone up. So the higher cost of living, the hygienists now in Seattle are getting $75 in some cases. Whereas in Phoenix, Arizona, we had some Phoenix folks and Dallas folks last night. Those people are still in the 40, 50s, which is awesome. But it's just where we're at right now. And I believe that it'll change, but we just got to hold out, and we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. Any questions about average actually, wait, hold off on your questions. I did want to discuss inflation tonight. So inflation is obviously a very hot topic right now. I actually want to read this to you. This was a report, again, done in 2021. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm struggling a bit. All right, so after a deflationary period in the United States, inflation rate ascended to almost 8% last year. So you'll see in 2020, inflation was somewhere around that 1%, and it bounced all the way up to 8% in the last year. So when inflation occurs, I think it's going to go up even more, guys, in 2023. But when inflation occurs, it immediately affects realized income. So what they mean is your income may have been fantastic, which is your collections. That's what you're seeing there in the green bars. So this is the average dental office's collections year over year over year. So you can see that the collections have been pretty stable, with the exception of COVID. Even in 2021 and 2022, look at that. So collections has been stable, which means the amount of cash that you receive, called profit, would in theory be the same. But when a loaf of bread goes up, gas goes up, supplies go up, you're actually not making the same amount of money. That's what realized income is. So although consumer demand for dental care did not decrease, which is the green bar, the demand for dental care did not decrease. So collections stayed stable. Practices experienced increased direct costs in categories like drugs, supplies, and salaries. So all those increased. So profitability did get squeezed. So net income for the year rises faster than inflation, and the growth of income still exists in real terms. So take a picture of that and try to really digest that. Inflation matters. And they actually have calculated that to be a 5% decrease year over year in what they call is like a realized income. So although some practices may have made the same or about the same, in fact, they've calculated a 5% decrease. So guys, this is why interest rates are high. It's a moment in time where interest rates are high, and the Fed is doing the right thing by increasing the cost of funds to try to get inflation under control. So I would be happy that they're actually doing that. And if you guys want to understand this a little bit more, just Google inflation, GDP, Treasury's going to vote. We're going to get with the inflation. Just pay attention to inflation a little bit. So, all right, that's kind of the state of the union. Inflation, labor costs are up, profits are a little down, although they're trending up in 2023. And yeah, all of that. But still, dental is the collections are staying very, very stable, and it seems to be very recession proof. So why should you consider owning with all of that known? Well, I'll tell you why. As an associate, you make X, add 10 to 15%. That's the average of how much more you'll make as an owner. You're going to get paid on hygiene now, and you're going to get paid a lot higher percentage of what you're doing in production. So practice owners just make more. The equity of the practice, so forget the income every year, because that does go up. Every year you're making more money. At the same time, you're paying off your debt. And once your loan is free and clear, now you have this practice asset, which we're going to talk a lot about later, that you get to sell. And it's a totally separate asset than all of your retirement assets. So if you stay as an associate and you're throwing money into retirement, that's great. Those are assets for you. You're not also building equity in a business. Steve's on the line, and he could talk to you all day about real estate and how buying real estate increases your equity, because that's even another asset that you could have to sell at the end of this. And all you're doing is doing everything you're normally doing right now, which is producing dentistry, with the exception of one thing: managing people, which is very hard. Managing people and having the stress and the burden of running a business. But you get the freedom of how you want to practice. You get to decide who you get to hire. You define what patients you want to have. And yes, you can create a better work-life balance because you're the boss. You can decide to cut it to 3 days and work your butt off for 3 days and take the other 2 days off. It's very possible. And a lot of our clients do that. So that it provides you so much. The consequence to that is you have to be a business owner, and that's stressful. But I will tell you, as a business owner, I would rather that stress for all of that you gain, for all of that. So let's keep getting into this more. Any questions? Again, all I'm doing is listening to myself talk and looking at the screen and wondering if you guys are even out there. So anything you got to add or share or questions, please participate. Going to get into interest rates. Super fun stuff. Ex-banker coming at you. Next segment. All right, interest rates, since nobody's got anything else about State of the Union. This has been the narrative, what you're seeing. This has been the narrative for the last 6 months. In fact, this is the narrative the last year. Okay, rising rates. Why would I ever want to get into ownership? Well, it's interesting because although this is the narrative and this is what everybody's talking about, the rates that you guys are at right now with these banks is the same rates it was when I got into the industry about 2012. So let's back it. That's my next slide. This is the all-time T-bill, Treasury bill. So I want to show you, look at this. Oh, so this is the narrative. This is the reality. Down. This is the narrative. This is the reality. So the T-bill, the Treasury bill, is essentially the cost of funds that the banks are buying money from the Fed and then selling to you at a different rate. So they're going to determine their interest rates based on their cost of funds. It's like Invisalign or a lab, a crown. the cost of the crown, and then you mark it up, right? So this is their cost of funds. Okay. Look, in 2012, there it was about the same. Well, I remember it being same. Maybe Bank of America was making a higher interest rate back then. But right about here is when the rate. So back in the recession that we went through, it was about the same. All I'm saying though is look at this. If you talk to your mentors or friends that have been in the industry a long time ago, their interest rates were 15, 10, 12%. Some of your student loans are much, much higher than this. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is relative to the grand scheme of things, this isn't the reason to not get into ownership. I'm telling you. About a year ago, you were able to get a 3.5%. So the general rule, guys, write this down. The general rule on lending is for every $100,000 you borrow, the payment is $1,000 a month. I'll say that again. If you borrow 100,000, the payment's about $1,000. Now, if you had gotten an interest rate at 3.5%, it's close to 1,000, almost right on the money. If you get a loan for 100,000 today, your interest rate's close to 7.5%, maybe even 6.5, somewhere in there, 6.5, 7%. And that payment is about $1,200. That's actually less than $1,200. So we are literally talking about a $200 a month conversation. I'm not saying that it's not a lot of money added up over time with interest compounding. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying for all the benefits that we were talking about earlier, all of that, the equity that you're getting, the flexibility in your schedule, the 10 to 20% bump in income, okay, over $200 a month for every 100,000. What are we even talking about? If you borrow 5 times that, it's the cost of a crown difference. Find another crown. So I just think that, like, sure, this is definitely something to consider, but I believe interest rates are going to go down. I do. And someone asked me that, do I think they're going to hold? I think they're going to hold. I do. They're just waiting for inflation to get caught up and to normalize. Go refinance. They're going to come back down, but refinance. These interest rates don't scare me. What would scare me is looking at like interest rates like up here, like in this realm. But at this line and lower, it's really not that bad. 3.5 was unheard of, guys. Like unheard of, not healthy for the economy. So don't get hung up on that. All right, questions about interest rates or cost of funds? I know, super boring stuff. Nothing. Okay. This is, to me, the big thing for tonight's discussion. And I'm going to get super passionate about it. I want to try to paint a story here. And again, remember, this is new content for me, so it might not be as smooth as I would want it to be. But your labor and managing people is the hardest part about transitions and even startups, for that matter, new owners in general. Okay. So how do you combat rising labor costs? And the answer is twofold. Produce more. So you're keep the same team and produce more. So same team at a higher whatever, like, oh, hygienist wants $75 an hour. Okay, produce more. But so produce more or cut and shrink your team and shrink your practice and get to the profit margin you want to. Cutting is is probably easier, but what most people don't want to do in a transition is walk in and just start cutting employees. That's not best practices. So producing more is the key here. So when you buy a practice, you really want to pay attention to how you can grow the practice. And of course, Next Level can help you do that. But if you don't have a consultant, pay attention to what, excuse me, what clinical work they're not doing. Pay attention to their hygiene department. Maybe you can get more perio or get the fluoride efficiency up. I know fluoride, but yes, tons of insurance doesn't cover fluoride. Start getting people to pay for fluoride because you believe in it. All kinds of things, maybe implants, maybe ortho. We help people do more ortho in their practice. So growing the practice that way, investing maybe in marketing. We're not talking about any of that tonight. Marketing or all that, but big picture, you have to focus on production. Let me show you why. Everybody has seen this. This was kind of going back to the stats that I showed you earlier. So nationally, the national average was 37 for a GP. This is a regional number. So for all of you Washington and California people, this is probably a little bit more accurate for your area, even in Spokane. So profit is closer to 35%. Wages is 36%. Advertising, sadly, is only 1% of what people are spending their collections on. Rent, lab, and supplies. So this is how, of all the dollars that come into the practice, this is how those dollars get allocated. You only get 35% of the profit. But on the flip side of that, wages is 36%. But you know what? I want to take this another step. Let's remove profit out of the equation and let's just focus on just expenses. So 100% of your overhead, forget profit for a second. So if I threw in a bucket all of the overhead expenses and then did a percentage of that, removing profit, look what happens. It's crazy. 56% of your company's overhead is based on wages and benefits. So a lot of you like focus on like, oh, I can go beat up my lab guy and get my crowns for whatever, $100 instead of $200, whatever. Or let's beat up Burkhart. Look, I'm all for trying to negotiate better contracts with people, but let's go beat Shine up or go buy from Darby. That's going to save me so much money. Guys, you are literally focusing on one of the smallest pieces of the pies. Why not focus on wages and benefits? That's the one. Because if you can move the needle in that section, your profit will explode. That's what I'm trying to show you is the day you take over ownership, it's this love-hate relationship of collections versus wages. And it's not that you don't want to pay for your team, great team, they're worth it, but it's about finding efficiency in the madness. Let me show you an example of this. So here is a schedule that of a client that we just brought on, and he's working in some cases 4 days, one case here 5 days, and then other cases he's working 3 days. So it's scheduled all over the place, and I want you to throw out what you guys see. I'm forcing you guys. I'm not going to move on until you guys weigh in. What are you seeing that I'm getting to here? Just try. Don't have some vulnerability and throw it out and make sure you attach everybody to the conversation, not just me. What do you guys see? Because this is an example of what not to do, by the way. Not moving on until you guys weigh in. I'm not doing it. I'm going to be as stubborn as you guys. What are we seeing? Need more days in the red than green. Yeah, definitely. That is the point. That is the point. That they're behind goal in a lot of days. Absolutely. Running a loss in most days. So basically, yeah. I mean, that's the big concept. Thank you, Nasreen. So essentially, their schedule is erratic. How many of you can relate to a $8,000 day, $27,000 day, and then you back it up with a $1,500 day? Well, what's happening? Then you do 5 and then back down to 1,400. I mean, look at the week of the 20th, 48, 24, 51, 64. So it's just all over the place. And then 25,000. So clearly they're making a ton of money on those 2 days and then losing their butts on other days. That's very inefficient. Okay. And this is the epitome of burnout. There's a ton of burnout going on, guys. Because of this. You come in, you bust your butt, and then you come in and it's like there's nothing going on, and then you bust your butt and it's just kind of like a crazy thing versus just a nice and easy, I wouldn't call dentistry easy, but just more consistency. So let me give you, how does this relate to wages? So imagine wages being, I don't know, I'm going to get my calculator out and say if wages are, let's just call it $27,000 for the month divided by 4 weeks. Your wages in this practice are probably close to $6,000 a month. Okay. So this day we made money. This day we made a ton of money. This day we got our butt kicked. This day we broke even. This day we got our butt kicked. This day we got our butt kicked. Oh, made some money, butt kicked. Do you see my point? Is you have to, what should happen, because what are you going to do? You're going to, well, what you should do is if production is light on this day, consolidate the day and combine days and have the support team come in to support the days you're productive. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's really hard to do when you acquire a company and you're like, hey guys, we're going to shut one day down. Well, they need their hours and they need their money too. So I'm going to get to some strategies on how to create a better scenario, but let me show you what one of our clients that we've been working with for about a year, what he's doing. This is the epitome of what you should be doing. He's like my golden child. What do you guys see here other than the fact that it's more consistent? Because that's the obvious. What are you seeing? I see consistency. What else are you seeing? What else, guys? This is the perfect one. What I'm seeing is every day he's working 3 days a week. I'm seeing that they're staggering different days so that when a patient calls, they always can offer a Monday. They always can offer a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So in a sense, the patient appears that they're open 5 days, but really they're only open 3 days. So this startup actually started off hiring his team and saying, hey, look, I need you to be able to stagger your days. And that probably sucks for the team, but he got them to do it. And a lot of people can do that. Now, this is like the perfect situation. I wouldn't expect all of you to be able to pull this off, but I do expect to figure out if you could run $1 million business off of 3 days like this guy's doing. He's running $1 million company off of 3 days a week, and his team is highly productive in the days that they are working. And that is called profitability. He's probably close to 50% profitable, not 35%, because he's figured out how, of course, he's upset about some of the lower days. You can't be perfect, but he's figured out how to drive patients where they want to be. If they haven't hit their goal, they could consolidate days or send people home. And that right there is the epitome. So if you guys are looking at your associate positions, start working on this skill set. If you don't own, go up to the front office person and say, hey, what's up? I'm not busy on Tuesday, Friday of next week. How are you building my schedule? Help the owner, because someday you will be the owner. And by the way, you get paid on hopefully a percentage of production. So you have to be more calculated and more intentional about scheduling and scheduling to goal. So this is how you control the labor issue. Everybody always says, Mike, I can't afford to pay that hygienist $75 an hour. You absolutely can. Do you think he can with a $9,000 day? Yeah. Yeah, he can afford a hygienist or a $7,000 or yes, sure. He may have broke even that day, but he's backing it up pretty much most days in 3 days a week. So I'm not saying a $75 an hour hygienist is cool and fine. And I'm just simply saying you can make it work. Some of our clients said, well, I'm just going to fire the hygienist and do the hygiene. Well, why would you do that? Now you have no time to do your crowns. Well, we'll open up more days to do that. Well, so, okay, wait, let me get that right. You're going to hire your front office person instead of 3 days. You're going to hire her an extra 2 days. So now you're paying salary on an extra 2 days. And now you need more dental assistants. So now you're paying dental assistants for 5 days instead of 3 days. That doesn't make sense. Your support people cost money too, not just the hygienist. So I'm all for, even if you have to break even for that hygiene column, crush your restorative days in the same days that you have your full team there. So hopefully that concept is sticking with you and you guys are kind of getting my point. Good job, whoever was anonymous. They said various days. Good observation. Yep. Great job. All right. So how do you build a schedule? I talked to a consultant when I first got into the business. She was a mentor of mine. And and I was interviewing her. I'm like, what's consulting all about? And she said, it's all about schedule. So that's why this slide is called that. It's all about schedule. And I just showed you why. Walk into these new owners, new business owners, and it's okay to define and declare your goal. So what is the production per day, per month that you're looking to hit and achieve? There's nothing wrong with talking about numbers with your team. That doesn't happen. Be a good CEO, be a good leader, and define it, because your team will actually help you hit the number that you're targeting. It's got to be attainable, absolutely, but you have to define it. Otherwise, they're not going to help you. All right. And have the discussion that, hey, look, if you could even show them this slide, take a picture of this slide right here. Say, look, guys, of all the dollars, this is how much. This is where all my money is going. All right. And then they'll realize, oh gosh, it actually, they're not making $1 million, because if you don't talk about numbers, they're just assuming you're making $1 million. I know plenty of broke $1 million practices, and the team thinks they're rich and the doctor is actually poor. It's because they're not talking about numbers. It's amazing to me. When we go into offices, next level consultants, and start talking about numbers, the team ends up coming up to us and say, oh my God, this is so cool. This is so cool. And it's so empowering. Now I'm going to see what I can do to help. And the owner's like, are you kidding me right now? Like, so just declare and define. Once you declare and define, you got to block schedule. So I'm telling you, this guy blocks schedules. He probably has 2 crowns a day in hours that he wants to have those crowns. He's probably got a lot of fillings and different things. And then where the freebies come in, the deliveries, the crown seats, we're putting those in days where we've already hit goal. So the 18th here, we've already hit goal. So we have space. That's where you would put the freebie. But on the day that we're light, like the 4th, we need to load that one up with maybe a crown or some fillings. So you build the slow days, and you fill in the free stuff in the areas that's already you've already hit your production goal. And that's how you smooth out production. If your production's going like this, crazy waves, and your wages are flat, you're making money, you're not making money. You're making money, you're not making money. And that's the stress of ownership. So again, that's how you control your wages. So track your production by days, by hours, maximize your hygienist, utilize your hygiene days. If you can only get a hygienist on Mondays and Tuesdays, then build those days and really blast out your restorative, and then do some hygiene on the other days if you have to. But like, don't be afraid of getting a hygienist to offload all those pro fees so that frees you up to do the big stuff. Great question. I get this question a lot, Helen. Thank you for asking. Um, when you talk to the team about goals and overhead, do you also have to be prepared for bonuses? And the answer is absolutely not. Because look, when they understand this concept, when they understand that when we bring in $1 million, 560,000 of it goes to you guys, that 100,000 goes to supplies and 7% goes to lab and 90,000 goes to rent, they're going to understand quickly that there's very little left for you. And so I remove the word bonus from my vocabulary and I call it profit sharing. If you guys want to incorporate a profit sharing program, there has to be profit. So call it profit share, don't call it bonus, because bonuses are kind of like expected. We have employees at Next Level and they know there's no such thing as a bonus. It's all profit sharing. And it's a percentage of. So when I win, they win. It's not the same. We don't split. I don't split the extra profit. I determine a percentage of that extra profit to them. But when there's more, I give. When there's none, I don't give. And the other thing is you don't do a profit share on a month-to-month basis, because there is ebbs and flows of collection. Just like in my business, there's ebbs and flows. So you don't bonus every month, because then you're bonusing on the peaks, and then you don't bonus, and then you bonus, and then you don't bonus, versus looking at a quarterly or a 6-month snapshot and looking at an average. That's safer than, because then you're going to get some sandbaggers. I hate to say it, but when employees understand how the metrics work, they play the metrics to their advantage. But no, I think if you explain this, Helen, to them, and you say, hey, look, to pay for technology and an advertising, and to hire another hygienist, and to hire a sterile tech, or to get another person up front because Gracie's buried, we need to elevate the practice to pay for that, because there's not enough coming back to the practice for sustainability. And it's having that conversation is a business has to be stable. You guys need your paychecks, and in order to maintain sustainability, we need to elevate the practice, and you give them time frames. Back to that slide. Good question, by the way, Helen. Thank you. You give them time frames. Look, today we're at whatever, 60,000 a month. By next March, we need to be hitting 80,000. And then by midsummer, we have to hit 100,000. That's the appropriate revenue for this particular company, so that we can invest in more technology and to get help here, and to potentially look at offering you guys more benefits. Like you have that discussion, and then you ask them, help me, how can we get there? Now, as a consultant, I would come in and figure out where those opportunities are and kind of guide that conversation. But when you don't have a consultant involved, that's the kind of leadership that you need in the practice. And guess what? If you're constantly talking about numbers, there's consequences for not hitting the goal. Okay. It's like my 7-year-old. Actually, we're going to Disney on Ice tonight. So we told them 2 days ago, because that was like the reason why we could get good behavior out of them for the last 2 days. Look, hey, you guys don't get your butts up there and brush your teeth right now, and we don't have to ask you 3 times. Disney on Ice is on. But if you're going to make your mom yell at you 3 different times, or you're not going to take your dishes to the sink, we're not going to Disney on Ice, right? And so there's consequences, and you give them plenty of time, but there are consequences. So if we don't hit 80,000 by March next year, guys, I'm going to have to consider cutting days. If they don't want their hours or days cut to hit their back pocket, then they better freaking fill the schedule. That's how this works. There's consequences. And if you give them the right training and you give them the opportunity with plenty of time to get there with your help, then by the time we hit mid-March and we're hitting 60 again, is it going to be easier if you've talked about it every single month? Is it going to be easier to cut to 3 days instead of 4? Hell yeah, it is. And the great thing about cutting a day back down is you get more time back for yourself, but now your labor has shrunk and your production stays the same because you're doing the same amount of dentistry, again, 60,000, but now in 3 days, and it shifted the entire model. But if we're on 4 days and we're not doing 80,000, that's a problem. If we're doing 60,000 on 3 days, it actually could work. So that's how these things, that's why you got to figure out where your break even, what we call the bare ass minimum, BAM. You got to figure that out in every single business, every single practice to make sure that you know what that number is, you communicate what that is, you train them on how to help them get there, you give them consequences. What's going on here, guys, right? And if the team can't help you get there, well, maybe you don't have the right team. And that's the true hard truth of it. With acquisitions, there's actually a lot of turnover with the team, and that's actually a good thing. You just don't want that to happen in a very short period of time after the transition. You want to utilize a lot of the goodwill that the team has. But once you get through 6-8 months, you've met every patient. Now it's not so scary. I've been through some folks that have bought practices and they've had some key players leave. The front office, the hygienist left, and even one of the dentists left. And guess how many patients we lost in that account? 0. So it's about how you handle that. I don't want you to have to go through that in the first 3 months of a transition. But if you lost your front office, who I'm looking at one right now, where the front office is making $100,000, literally $100,000, and she's probably got a lot of goodwill. But day one, if she's not coachable, if she can't help me get from 60 to 80,000 in 3 or 4 months, once I feel like the goodwill has been transferred, sayonara, doesn't work anymore. And I would not be scared of that decision, you guys. I would not be. Too many people, too many blogs, too many podcasts talk about how the team is totally untouchable. That's just not true. They're untouchable for a short period of time, yes. But when you buy a business that's not sustainable or not profitable or the wages are out of control, that doesn't, just because the seller was dumb and didn't figure it out and had their head in the sand, that doesn't mean you have to be that way. You just have to figure out a period of time for when we want to make that transition. Take control of your business. That's the big, big picture. Here's some rule of thumbs. There's some asterisks, and I hate rules of thumb, but these are good rules of thumb. For every, you don't need a second front office person until you hit 800,000 in collections. You might need a half of a front office person. What's a half, you ask? It's like third-party billing. If you took billing out of the office, that's what I would consider a half person. Or if you did insurance verification out of the office, that could be considered like a half person. Or if you take calls out of the office, call service, you could take that out of the office. And so that's how you get past that hump. Once you do about $1 million to $1.2 million, it's about the time that you need a second office person. But I walk into offices all the time and they're doing 600,000 and they've got 2 people up front. What's happening? So there's an indicator. You don't need another dentist until you hit at least 1.2 to 1.5. So if there's 2 dentists, why? So if you're thinking about a partnership or having the seller stay on, if you're not doing at least 1.2, that's a dumb decision, frankly. It's a dumb decision. And no, the dentist will not transfer the goodwill over. There's some romantic idea of sellers staying on and transferring all this goodwill. Dude, they're not. That's not going to happen. Your team does that. all you're doing is paying them 800 grand for the practice. Thank you very much. Here's 800 grand. And oh, by the way, why don't you hang on and take all my production too, and I'll pay you 30% on that. What? Why would you do that? That's your cash flow. That's what you need to pay your bills and your loan that you just gave him. So, or her. So you don't need another dentist until at least 1.2, 1.5. And then for every active 200 patient, you need one hygiene day. The X factor is a strong perio department. So if you're doing prophy, 200 active patients for one hygienist. And that's what I was saying about utilize third-party services. You can utilize third-party services to help you get past humps to keep your labor under control. Really, no questions about any of that? I mean, that was some thick, dense coaching right there. Nothing? No questions? Great question from Helen on the bonuses. Stephanie, Nesreen, you guys are also my other shining stars in the group. While you're thinking of questions there, so again, staying on the schedule, retention. So what's interesting as you're looking at these practices, you want to see how many of the hygiene patients or active patients have an appointment on the books for hygiene. The goal is to have 85%. I find that it's much, much lower in the 60s. The other thing is pre-appointment. So much different than just hygiene. Pre-appointment is every single active patient, how many of them have an appointment. So this includes restorative and hygiene and everything. So of all your active patients, how many of them have an appointment? The average is 57. So there are reports that you can pull about how many appointments are on the schedule. And then there are obviously reports you can pull about active patients, and just divide the two. Whoops, getting handsy here. Just divide the two, and there's your percentages there. Cancellations, no-shows, protect your schedule. Once you build it, a really, really issue in today's world is cancellations and no-shows make up 15%. They're on the rise. So you got to have very tight cancellation and no-show policies. Because again, if you get to a schedule that looks like this, you gotta protect it. Protect the cancellations. Make sure everybody reappoints so that you don't have to always build that schedule. Reading chats and stuff. Cool. Helen, I'll address that in a minute. Here in a second. So back to the schedule. So again, now that we're talking about like retention and keeping your schedule clean, then it's about, are we utilizing the patients that we have? Are we getting marketing? Or can we grow the practice? And marketing is obviously the way to do that. So again, looking at your existing patients and maximizing them. And that's when once you've done that and you get everybody on the schedule and you really focus on getting the active patients that you just bought, by the way, get them on the schedule. And then after that, if you've tapped out and there's no other people to call, that's the time to spend some money on marketing. And the sad thing about marketing is about 33% of new patient calls get missed. That breaks my heart because marketing is extremely expensive. Getting your active patients on the schedule, that's not expensive. That's just holding your team accountable to making recare calls. But to spend $2,500 on a print campaign, and then you missed a third of those calls, and then of the 2/3 that do get picked up, another sad statistic is a third of those get converted. So essentially, you spend $2,500 a month in a 5,000 direct mail campaign, and then you miss a third, and then another third don't book. man, that's such a waste. So you got to really track some of those things. And then are you treatment acceptance? So once you get all these people back on the schedule, what's your treatment presentation look like? The average is 40% of acceptance. And I want to define this. And as associates, you should start tracking this because you want to know if you're a good treatment presenter, a good communicator. You do. You really want to get good at this. So out of 10 patients, you guys are going to say, no way, eight of my 10 accept. And that might be true. But I want you to track dollars. So out of 10 patients, you diagnose $10,000. The statistic is 4,000 of that 10,000 got accepted. So it's dollars, not people. It's dollars. All right. And if you're one of those that deliver 2 treatment plans, make sure that you eliminate the treatment plan in the system that they end up not going with so that you don't have duplicates there. But track treatment acceptance, again, a schedule builder right here. So marketing's a schedule builder, enrollment is a schedule builder, retention and follow-ups are schedule builder, reducing cancellations. So all these things get you to this beautiful thing. But if you do all of these things, there's no way your schedule should look like this, is my whole point. Someone is falling asleep at the wheel. All right. I'm going to answer this question from Helen. I heard from my oral surgeon friend that new grads are not buying practices, so demand is going down. She doesn't think she can sell her practice when she retires in 15 to 20 years. Is that the same for a GP? So selling your practice as an oral surgeon is a totally different game than selling a practice as a GP. An oral surgeon has to deal with goodwill and referral sources. So it's a less sticky business. And what I mean by that is a GP kind of has all the cards. So GPs expect generals to send referrals, right? And so if I'm an oral surgeon buying another oral surgeon's practice, that oral surgeon better take me around and meet all of you GPs. And hopefully we make a connection so that hopefully you continue to refer the practice. That's risky. And those values actually are much less percentage-wise as GPs. GPs, there's a ton of goodwill for GP and pedos for that matter because of the hygiene department, because those patients are coming in for their recare, and that gives the new buyer an opportunity to sell dentistry, right? To get dentistry on the books. Without hygiene, you're just kind of like an oral surgeon. And so I don't know where you're from, Helen, but it's a case-by-case market. And we're talking about a 15 or 20 year gap. I can't even begin to predict what 15, 20 years from now looks like. She doesn't think she can sell her practice when she retires in 15 to 20 years. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think she will always be able to sell her practice. The question is what the value is going to be. I don't know what the oral surgeon market looks like in her market in 20, 15 years. But what I can tell you is one of the safest equity plays, which is where we're heading in this next part of the presentation, is dentists are able to sell their companies. I want you to think about this as Next Level, the owner of Next Level. I'm a dental consulting firm. How easy do you think it would be for me to sell my company? Answer that, guys, in my chat. Easier or harder for Next Level to sell my company than a GP dental office? Anybody else? Chaplain? Nice. Easier or harder for Next Level? Anybody else want to go against Chaplain or Steve? It would be so much harder because it's what's in my brain. If you were going to buy Next Level, you better buy me too. You better buy me because I am the producer. Now you sell a dental office, guys, I am telling you, you're not the Goodwill people. You're not. The hygienist, the team, and frankly, the location. My business partner, Paul, I'll give you a story. She bought a dental practice right out of COVID. Right out of COVID. Right out of COVID. And she's a hygienist. So she can't do dentistry. So she had to hire a dentist to do the dentistry, do the restorative. Okay. She did do some hygiene. She didn't do all the hygiene. The practice came with a hygienist. But the story goes, guys, that she went through 7 dentists in a 2-year period before she found her dentist, her reliable dentist. Half of them couldn't even do crowns. There were so many redos. Some of them wanted to be paid more. I mean, there was 100 different reasons. And yes, it pissed the patients off, some patients, but she lost almost no patients. She had almost zero retention. And it's because those patients were married to her, to the hygienists, to the office and the location, to the dental assistant and the front office people. And that is what my friends is called goodwill. So whether the owner of the practice steps away, there is so much goodwill that comes with that business. So the stronger the goodwill, the easier it is to sell. And that is why you guys are all lucky to be in a position to own a practice and build this other asset. Because I own a consulting firm and my asset, I could do $5 million in sales. I'm not sure what it would be worth, to be honest with you. It's not really an asset I get to sell. So I better be putting retirement money in. I better, because I'm not sure what I get to sell. You guys get to sell this. All right. You get to sell that. If you have a building, that you get to sell that. And I actually bought a building last year for that main reason, because I was paying rent anyways. I might as well get an asset out of it. And so again, back to your question, Helen, you absolutely will be able to sell. Now in any market, if people slow down in the purchasing, the value is going to come down naturally. But do I think that dentistry is going to explode and implode and all the DSOs are going to buy you guys out and your businesses aren't going to be worth much? No. The question is how much are they going to be worth? And you're going to be in dentistry for the next 15, 20 years. Do the Michael Jordan. Do the Michael Jordan. What's the Michael Jordan, Mike? The Michael Jordan won 3 championships. And what did he do, guys? Right after he won 3 championships. Any sport nuts out there? What did he do after he sold? What did he do after he won the 3rd championship the first time? Come on. Making you guys do it. Say it. No sports fans. He left. He went to baseball. That's right. And then it didn't work out. And then he came back, and what did he do? He won another 3 championships. And then what happened again? He left again. So I called the Michael Jordan. Sell while you're on top. Get out while you're on top. So Helen, if you're grinding and you're owning, you have this business and you're kicking butt and it's worth $1 million and you see the market shift on you, sell it. Sell it while it's on the top. It's just like real estate. Sell it. And then when the market shifts again, go buy something else. That's how you really make crazy money. I'm not saying play the dental game in and out like that. I'm just simply saying you have an asset. I'm not sure what it's worth or what it will be worth. And I'm not sure if the demand's going to be up or down. But what I can tell you is as long as I've been in this dental game, which is about 15 years, it's always been a seller's market. And in some markets, finally, it's been a buyer's market. But even in those buyer markets, practices are still selling for 70%, 80% of collections. So they are holding their value. Are you getting top dollar? Maybe not. All right. Steve, you're excuse me. I'm totally choking right in your ear. So equity, I'm going to talk about equity. and I stole this from my friend Rod Johnston, who owns Omni. And if I have a seller, a lead, I send them to Omni because to me they're the best broker in town, here in Washington. And I did still seal this with his permission. I want to talk about equity now because okay, so equity now versus so Dr. Now and Dr. Wait. I see some of your valuation. Guys, I'm going to get to that actually. You guys are talking about a percentage of top line. We need to get away from percentages of top line. Okay, so even you guys stop talking about percentages of top line. And I'll tell you why. That's my cliffhanger. So I'm going to address that. All right, so let me run you through this equity conversation. How are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing okay. I got to speed it up. But equity. So Dr. Now versus Dr. Wait. So what's it going to cost you? An opportunity cost of moving forward now in ownership, even though there's some weirdness about the market. What's it going to actually cost you if you sit on the sidelines? So you got two different doctors. In this scenario, Rod and I tweaked some of his numbers a little bit, but in this scenario, you've got Dr. Now who purchased the practice after exactly 2 years of working as an associate. So you're going to see year 1 and 2, Dr. Wait and Dr. Now's income was exactly the same in the first 2 years, 100 and 103. The reason why it went up is we added a 3% inflation. So you're probably getting a raise or you're getting a little faster with your production, but it's a nominal increase, but nonetheless, it's an increase. In the third year, Dr. Now buys a practice and Dr. Wait hangs on and stays an associate. We even stress test this little thing where Dr. Now not only bought the practice, but then he invested or she invested in some equipment and upgrades. And so now the practice, they actually earned less in that first year of ownership, which is actually probably pretty realistic, guys, because it does take takes a minute to stabilize a practice and then grow it later. So in my theory right now, we're negative 16,000. So the associate made 16 grand more in year 3. But as you can see over time, so in year 4, Dr. Now's income finally caught up, and that would be probably true. It's going to take you a minute, but once you figure it out, you're going to make more money. So boom, now there's a $50,000 difference. And Dr. Wait, we gave him a bump in income for inflation, but still sitting at that same amount. So year 6, Dr. Wait purchased his practice. So eventually their salaries will be similar. Okay. Year 5, Dr. Now's growing his practice. And now Dr. Wait is finally making a little bit more money. But then finally Dr. Wait, I'm sorry. Year 6, he buys and his income actually went down, which again, we did that for Dr. Now as well. So essentially what I'm showing you there is you can see by the clear lift in income. And this is, by the way, this scenario was after the loan payment. So the income of the practice minus the loan payment, that was that 160 number. All right. And so this scenario just shows you that probably in the matter of a 2 or 3, maybe 4-year span, you're probably looking at $150 to even $200,000 swing just in a 3-year swing. And that's money, frankly, that you just won't recoup. Now, maybe 170 to 200,000 doesn't get you super excited, but consider this, that if you took that $176,000 and you put it into some kind of investment vehicle and it compounded, that's big money. It's called time value of money. Also consider, if you don't invest it, what if you put it into some debt, college debt, personal residence, you're paying down debt, also compounding and so that 170 to 200,000 just by a 3-year difference in a decision of getting into ownership or not, can cost you real dollars on your personal financial statement. The other thing, and which is the X factor, is Dr. Now's going to be out of he will buy this business and he will pay it off in 10 years. Dr. Waite got in, and I think in year 3 or 4, right? So that means Dr. Now is going to get out of debt in 3 or 4 years earlier with the practice and make even more money in those 3 or 4 years, while Dr. Waite's loan is slowly getting paid off for the practice. And in those years at the back end of after you pay off your debt of the practice, that's when you make crazy money. Not crazy money, but like a lot more money, because the first 10 years of you buying the business, you're worried about paying taxes, figuring out your metrics, paying the damn loan and doing all of that. But every year you're gaining equity in that asset that we've been talking about. And then when that loan gets paid off in less than 10 years, 10 or less, that's when you get a huge pay lift. So that's the really cool thing about ownership. And I'm going to tell you from a personal perspective here. I didn't realize personally, I worked for Bank of America. So for those of you that know my story, I had a great job, I had a great expense account. I made good money. I had even better benefits. I had a pretty cush job, guys. Like it was like the perfect job. And I was putting all my money into retirement, and Bank of America was matching, and they even gave me Merrill Lynch to use for free for no fees. And it was a great, great gig. I relate that to you guys as associates right now. It's a good gig. You're making money. They offer benefits, all that. I'm telling you right now, I haven't seen my personal financial statement, my wealth pop like this since I started Next Level. I had no idea what ownership gave me. It gave me tax benefits. It gave me the ability to buy a condo. And yeah, sure, I'm losing all of those great benefits, but I'm gaining so much more. And what's really interesting is if you make great decisions, it compounds. It compounds so much faster. And sure, there's definitely some compounding as an associate as you put into retirement. There's compounding there, which is fine and great, and that's definitely going to grow. But having both, maybe a third with real estate, it's on another level. So that's when you start creating generational wealth. And so that's really what this slide is all about. Whew. Again, I haven't presented that before, so hopefully that wasn't too choppy for you guys. All right, I wanted to address this whole percentage situation. Helen, take care. Thanks so much for joining. I think you got a balance, and that's totally fun. But folks, we've had a couple questions about this whole percentage of and how valuations work. Guys, get away from percentages of. All right. So one question said some people on the east side of Washington want more than 100%. And then another person said, so that 70% east side Washington doesn't hold true, I think. So we're talking about 70%, 100%, 90%, 80%. Forget it. Throw it out the window, you guys. Throw it out the window. How valuation works is simply by me giving you this scenario. Are you ready? It's if I ran $1 million company, and that company, so $1 million, you guys are talking about percentages. So, I have $1 million company, so it's worth $1 million, or the 70%, whoever said that. I have $1 million company and it's worth 700,000. Okay, we're talking about the top line, which has nothing to do with the bottom line. Because if I have $1 million company that's making 250 grand versus another $1 million company making 500 grand, are you guys trying to tell me that both of these companies are worth 70, 80% of $1 million the same? Does that make sense to you guys? No, the company that makes more is worth more. Simple. So let's change our brains and minds about how much the company is doing at the top, and let's focus on what the company is doing at the bottom, which is ultimately why you need a consultant like myself or a CPA, because reading tax returns is very difficult for you guys. You don't do it. But it's really easy to see what collections are on the prospectuses. And so, and by the way, it can be very hard to determine what profitability is. In fact, most brokers screw it up. These practice brokers are so damn busy getting listings and putting packages together that they miscalculate what the true profit is of the practice. And to me, that's where valuation starts, guys. It's a multiple, a factor of profit. And my number, whether depending on what region, and again, I don't want to say anything because there's definitely some people nationally here, guys. But my number, whether you're on East Coast, West Coast, West Side Washington, East Side Washington, I don't care. What does the company make? Times it by 2, and that's a solid value. If it's something that's very, very desirable in a very desirable area and has an awesome lease and throws 40 new patients a month with no marketing and has all the greatest and latest technology, I'd be willing to go to 2.5 of profit. Stop talking about a percentage of top and start talking about a multiple, a factor of profit. And my number is 2 to 2.5. I don't care if you're in Texas or in Washington. If the company's throwing off 250, it's worth 500 or maybe 556. Are you with me? That's what it should be about. That's the conversation. All right. Questions about that. I mean, now you're starting to be smart, okay, about how valuation works. But it's about profit. Damn it. Getting mad. And even brokers talk about profit, right? They do. So here's a question. Thank you. So some practices do not show any profits. They say we have to add backs to find out. That's correct. Most businesses, well, first of all, if they're not showing any profits, that's some sketch accounting. That doesn't mean that it's a bad business to purchase. That just means that you've got a very aggressive CPA that might be prone to an audit. If you buy that business and that business gets audited later on, that's not your responsibility. The day that you buy the company, that company then is your responsibility. So don't carry on those accounting practices. But essentially what they're doing, whoever asked that question, is they're throwing so many personal expenses into the business in an unhealthy way. I'm talking the kiddos all have a business card and they're running Amazon through it. And that's called office expense. Or they're taking their wife or husband on a Hawaii trip and they have a discussion about the business for a half minute in the hotel and they write the whole damn $20,000 vacation off. Look, that's all fine. I do it. Everybody does it. I run my auto through. Hell yes, I take my wife out to dinner sometimes and talk about the company. Whatever the scenario is. If it's too much creative accounting, there's definitely a yellow flag there, but you need to get a CPA or myself, an ex-banker, to really dig into the tax returns and figure out what the actual profit is. And if the seller can't show you, or if the broker is unwilling to show you what the profit really is, especially if you ask a lot of questions like, hey, why is office expense so much? Or why are the supplies like triple what industry average is? And by the way, I gave that to you right here. Look at the profit and loss, guys, and determine where the practice is falling into right there. And if supplies is at a 12%, why the hell's that? Right? And then find out the answer. And if it's a legit add back, then add it back to profit. If it's not a legit add back, then don't. Guys, I don't expect you to be professionals about this. In fact, you're never going to have my 15 years of experience in this stuff. So I would highly suggest that if you get into a situation, hire me or someone like me to help you with this. I've given you enough bullets for sure, but I'm telling you, there's so much you guys don't know. Okay. It's impossible to teach you guys in an hour and a half how this all works. But I definitely have given you a lot of ideas, I hope. But again, start talking about profit and really digging into profit and valuing the company based on profit. So this is how you guys get a hold of me. Reach out. I would love to do a consult on you, give you some more advice on your particular situation, but more so, I would love to take you on as a client. We only charge $2,500 up front to get going on buyer representation, and then another $4,000 at close. So you're really only out of pocket about $2,500 to get me to look at your situation and make sure you're not making a crazy mistake. And I'm with you literally from start all the way to close. And I'm helping you look at multiple different practices, because you guys are probably looking at practices every single day, but you're really not sure how it all works or what looks right. And so I'll look at a lot of practices and I'll help you make 3 offers. So that's kind of my guarantee to you. And then once you get into practice, you can reimburse yourself that $2,500. But it's a really low cost entry in for my advice. And so, and I've designed it that way on purpose because you guys need help, quite frankly. And if you wait to bring me in too late and the practice broker is like, hey, I can help you do all this, and then I come in later, it's so much harder to backtrack and say, actually, the practice is only worth $650 and not $750. And then the broker's mad at me, the seller's mad at you, because you should have never went in the first place without really doing your due diligence on the front end. Okay. All right, guys, I think I've come to that moment where I'm exhausted and I got to take my kiddos to Disney on Ice. Any last comments before I shut this bad boy down? Again, I'm giving you guys free advice. I'm here. Let's get any more last minute questions out there before we close down. You did say twice profits for equity, twice profits for the value of the company. That's what I said. Equity is a different word to use. Equity is if you own the practice and it's worth something, and then you pay down the debt, just like a house, right? Yeah, perfect. Okay, but yeah, so yes, 2 times for a value of company is a solid number, guys. It could be more, it could be less. There's a lot of variables, guys. Those valuations are sometimes 64 pages long. It's not all a bunch of bullshit. All right. So don't think you're like an evaluation expert rolling in hot to someone that knows way more about valuation. And you're like, well, it should be 2 times. Well, yeah, but there's a lot of other things that are worth something. And there's actually 3 or 4 different methods you should use. And then that's one method I just gave you, but there's 3 other methods, and then those methods get weighted and then they get blended. So really it's like the tip of the iceberg. But if you're going to throw out valuation cavalierly about percentage of top line, then I would rather you sound a lot smarter and say, well, it's really a 2 times of what your profit is, sir or ma'am. So that's what you should say to those percentages comments. All right. Hopefully that helped. Awesome. Last questions, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me blab this whole time. I really hope some of you reach out. I'd love to work with you. This is my passion, helping you guys get into ownership and helping you be amazing business owners. I've been doing it for a long time. My team is crazy good and very knowledgeable. We all have a similar passion and culture. And what you get with me is what you would get with the rest of my team. And so, yeah, look us up. We'd love to help you out. And that kind of concludes the presentation, guys. Peace out. We will be reaching out for the CE so that you guys can log that. So thanks, guys, so much. Have a great night.